For all the latest on the SaWGuy podcast, be sure to subscribe and don't forget that bell icon. Welcome to the SaWGuy podcast. As always, y'all know, I am the SaWGuy, and you're joining me for year 3 in review of the SaWGuy podcast. You know, it's crazy because 2020 was a crazy ass year that we just all experienced, and the fact that year 3 was, you know, I guess you could say a crazy year, but also a fun year. But man, we got a lot to discuss. So sit back, relax, and let's get this shit started.
Hello, and welcome to the SaWGuy podcast.
My reign of terror was legendary.
You stutter, bitch.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
You opened it, we came.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.
Hey, oh!
Besides all the craziness that was going on in, 2020, it was year 3 of the SaWGuy podcast, and I see it as a successful year, and I really do, because I went back and watched year 2 in review, and there was a lot of promises that I said that I was going to try and keep, try to branch out into different content, make it more fun, entertaining, and everything like that, and I think I held it up pretty well. There was a couple things I was disappointed in, obviously I didn't get into, the whole video game thing. I wanted to do video games on, like horror survival games, the classic original ones, not all this new stuff that they keep coming out, but I don't know, because I just wanted to branch out and do something a little bit more entertaining for y'all, and I believe I did pretty good on it. I mean, for the most part, it's just, I was a little disappointed I couldn't get, like, other segments in, but we might see those in year 4, maybe. But anyways, like I said, with year 3, I'm going to break down everything that you probably may have known, may have not known. I got a lot of fans, I got a lot of followers that actually tune in to the YouTube channel, but they don't follow me on social media and so forth. So some of the stuff you may have already known, some of it, they might actually be new to you. Because, with year 3, like I said, it was something different. It was something that I wanted to try and branch out and have a lot of fun with, right? So kicking off year 3 last year, I decided that I wanted to do, a horror film that was, I guess you could say, you could classify it as horror, but it really wasn't a horror film. I mean, it was one of those gray area ones, right? And when I started off, I said, shit, I wanted to do, the Joker. Joker was something that I wanted to do because of the fact of, I'm a huge DC comic fan. I love everything Batman, Joker, and tying Joker into the element of horror, like, oh shit. I mean, it became a passion project for me. It really did. And with Joker, you could say it's the most recent movie that I've done as an episode, because most of it, I kind of go into some obscure ones, and some of them I go to ones that, like, make you scratch your head, like, huh, But I mean, I pick it out because it's just, those are the ones that I find entertaining, and not a lot of people have seen them. That's the crazy thing. But with Joker, there was all this hype on it, and we all, lived through 2019 and 20. And we knew what it was all about. And the thing that I wanted to do this film for, not so much as just a passion, but just the fact I wanted to bring in the, awareness of everyone's mental state of mind. And with that being said, that was one of my favorite trailer reactions and stuff that I had to film for, because what I decided to do, I got a lot of feedback from everybody, and everybody really loved the trailer announcements that I was doing. And it all started with the Texas Chainsaw one that I did, and everyone's like, holy shit, you did that in under a minute, that's cool. And I figured I gotta go big. I mean, it's year 3, you gotta go big or go home, right? So I decided I wanted to do it very cinematic, almost in a way of shot-for-shot remake of the Joker trailer, but I was gonna be, the SaWGuy version of it. So you see SaWGuy, and he kind of goes crazy, very similar to Joker. He becomes the Joker, or Laughing Billy is the name of the mask. And you see, instead of the Gotham landmarks, you see the landmarks of my hometown, Fresno. Filming that was actually kind of fun. The only issues that I really had was, like, some of the spots that I had to go out and film at. There are some pretty rough neighborhoods out there, man. But it was fun, and it's just, it wasn't anything too crazy, other than the fact of, if you see the trailer and if you've seen the behind the scenes, you'll know one of the craziest things that I did. I was dressed up, as a clown and everything like that, had the whole clown green hair wig and all that shit going on. I was sitting at a water fountain, and at the time I had my friend, I told him, I said, hey, so this is the shot that I want to do. You're going to do it from far, coming in, and I'm just going to laugh crazy, and make it look like I'm crazy. And I said, just go with it. So, as he's filming, and where this area is, there's a street, and you have buildings all over in downtown Fresno. Well, there was a time where the cars weren't driving by, so as soon as I started laughing and laughing really loud for the microphone to pick up, it just echoed all over. You know, you get a lot of people like staring, a lot of people are like, what the hell is he doing? And then, you know, when I see people and everything, I try to approach them and be cool with it and tell them like, hey, it's for a YouTube channel to check it out. And, you know, people were cool, people were chill about it. I mean, it was fun. But the thing I learned from all that filming of the Joker episode was the fact that, you know, it set the pace for me for year 3. It set the pace of being more, you know, cinematic, I guess you could say, with some of my trailer announcements. And I learned how to, I guess you could say, manage footage. The only issue that I had is that I filmed this much, but I only used this much. And I was like, shit, what the hell am I gonna do with all this extra footage? And, you know, I didn't really put a timestamp on the actual trailer itself. You'll find out later on when you see the Beetlejuice trailer announcement. That ended up being about a full 10 minutes. But with this one, you know, I used all the footage to kind of match the actual Joker trailer. And I decided, okay, well, I'm going to use all this extra footage and I'm going to use it as promos. So if you follow me on social media, you saw that some of the promos I did was like, you know, looking at the camera and I say, that's life. And it cuts out. Good night. And remember, that's life. Or I did the Joker stare dance, the whole recreation of it. And then I did the SaWGuy version of the Joker dance recreation, which is where, you know, you see me at all the Fresno landmarks and everything like that, and I'm dancing around to Gangster's Paradise. You know, there was nothing funny about that, but it was just, I wanted to use Gangster Paradise because I felt like it set the tone for who Joker was in that film. And one of my favorite scenes I also filmed on there was, I filmed right there in front of this area that they call the Tower Theater. So it's an old school theater and everything. They have all these bright neon lights. As I'm walking down, you know, the sidewalk of it, I noticed that their windows, they have, I guess, like this reflective tint on it. And I'm holding a lit cigarette, try to act like the Joker walking down, and then I see my reflection on the corner of my eye, and I turn around and look, and I was like, oh shit, I can do something that's narcissistic and kind of fits in with the Joker. So I look at it, and I start dancing and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, all right. It's kind of funny because a lot of my stuff that I shoot, if you've seen behind the scenes, some of it I do on the fly and it ends up being really great, and some of the stuff that I do on the fly really sucks. But 90% of it is actually planned, and the 10% that isn't planned, it has to be something that really makes it pop. And that was that 10% that actually made it pop. So I was like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. You know, and like I said, it was a fun experience with doing the Joker episode. But, you know, moving on up, I got my computer here so that way I can look at all the videos and everything and discuss all the stuff going on. During that time when I was filming the Joker episode, though, I came down with a really nasty flu. But I'm not going to say it was the virus, but I did have a lot of symptoms of it. And it was before, you know, it became big, before all the shutdowns and stuff. And that ended up being like one of the hardest episodes for me of the whole year to do, really. Was the Joker episode, because I got 90% of the filming done. It took me out for 2 weeks because I was really sick. And then when I came back, I filmed that last scene at the Tower Theater. And then I realized, okay, you know, I'm going to give myself a couple of days and I'll film the episode. And in that episode, I feel bad because, I mean, I'm not as energetic as I normally am. And I'm just like, yeah, you know, the Joker.
Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
But I mean, it was a lesson learned, you know. I mean, you learn how to manage things a lot better and stuff like that. And how to film and do all that stuff, you know, so it was a good learning experience for me. And of course, you know, later on in year 3, what I decided to do is that I was going to push more of various different segments, more of the $5 horror finds, more of From the Grave. I got a lot of feedback from y'all. Everyone was asking me, well, how come you don't do trailer reaction videos or reaction videos? And then the kind of like the light bulb went on for me, just like ding, and I just said, oh shit, okay. I didn't really know that people would enjoy trailer reactions, you know, and I'm a total fanboy when it comes to horror films, when the trailer reactions come out, right? And so anyways, before I did the whole Joker episode release, they had just announced the new Saw film trailer had just dropped, Spiral from the Book of Saw. And man, that shit was so hard because, you know, here, once it drops and you're on social media, everybody's posting that shit everywhere. And it's so hard because it's like, okay, and you swipe it up and it's like, nope, skip, don't want to see this. And I mean, it just sucked because I wanted to record my actual authentic, you know, reaction for you guys. And I fought, I think it was about 2 days of time, you know, because the way how things were working at that time, and I figured, shit, you know, I gotta get this in. So finally when I saw it, I mean, everything you see in that trailer reaction is like my full reaction, just like, oh shit. And that's how I am with it. I really am. And I guess it's entertaining because I got that suggested to me by a lot of you guys out there, and I appreciate that. But, you know, also too, there was another trailer reaction that I did, and I did it for Jordan Peele's Candyman. And, you know, that one I was kind of on the fence because I was like, you know, and it wasn't so much because of the film or Jordan Peele or anything. It's because Candyman was scary as fuck, dude. I won't say his name more than like 5 times, you know, and once I get to that 4th time, I'm like looking around, making sure there's no fucking mirrors nearby. Candyman, of course. Oh, what the fuck? But it was funny, and I don't know if you actually saw the trailer reaction. I made sure and counted how many times I actually said his name too, because it's true. But when I saw it, I was just like, what the hell? But it was a really great trailer. It was really fun to do that, and hopefully I'll do more trailer reactions for you guys. I plan to do a lot more, but obviously, you know, with everything that was going on in the movie industry with 2020 and stuff, it was limited. It really was. And I just didn't want to, you know, just overdrawn it out, you know. And the same thing goes with $5 horror finds. With $5 horror finds, that's a segment where, you know, I dig through the $5 horror bins or $5 or less, and, you know, tell you guys about a movie that I find and it's out there right now for $5 or less. The problem with that is just, you know, when they did some of the shutdowns, where I lived, at least here in town, a lot of my favorite places where I used to go and dig for them, they all shut down. So you only had, like, you know, the big stores to go and check out. And it sucks because going through the big stores, yeah, you do find a lot of good stuff, but at the same time, it's just like, there's this, nobody wants a Garfield, you know? You see Dragon Ball Z, a bunch of other random shit in there, and you have to dig. And as much as I was digging throughout the year, I found a lot of good ones, you know, at the beginning, but towards the end of year 3, it was, you know, few and far between and hard to find them. It really was, you know, so that's where it kind of died down a little bit. You know, I'm definitely bringing back $5 horror finds for y'all. It's not a killed segment. It's coming back. You know, but also I wanted to talk about the other segments that I do from the grave, and I get this a lot, like, hey, what is From the Grave about? And From the Grave, and as I explained in the year 2 in review, it's basically a forgotten horror film, or a film that I guess everyone remembered at one time or another. They made memes and all that crazy shit, and then it just kind of dies down. So, you know, with films, with that segment, there was a lot of good films that I wanted to bring up. Mostly 90s stuff is what I'm just crazy about right now. You know, everything from Dr. Giggles. I mean, that's considered 89, 90. Then you have Pacific Heights with Michael Keaton. You know, everyone forgets that Michael Keaton can play a bad guy role before RoboCop, and that was a really fucking good film, so I had to talk about that. Another one of my favorite ones was The Crush, and I love that film because you had all, like, big star power before they got really big at the time, and it was a really good film, and I had to bring that one up because, I mean, fucking Dr. Gordon's in that one, so I was like, oh shit, you know. And it was just the 90s thing, you know. When you see films from the 90s, there was a lot of thrillers that I guess you can say nowadays they could be passed off as horror. But the only problem is, though, it's just, you know, when they made those thrillers, they didn't tie in any of the gore aspect. They built up a lot of suspense and a twist and stuff, but they didn't have the gore. So at the time in the 90s, they weren't classified as horror, but they were classified as like thriller, suspense, drama, all that stuff. I try not to do so much of that, so that way you guys don't think it's like all 90s movies. But, you know, there's some other good ones in there. I threw in The Hitcher. Hitcher was one of my other favorite ones that I did. And I wanted to do an episode on it. I still might plan to do that, because the original Hitcher was one of my favorites. The fact where he goes into, like, the diner and he's eating fries, and one of the fries ends up being a severed finger, like, fuck that, dude. I still can't do steak fries because of that fucking movie. But anyways, you know, going down the line, I was doing segments in between, and the reason why I do segments in between episodes is so that way I have constant contact for you guys. So you guys don't forget about old SaWGuy here, you know, I'm still here. It's just a lot of the editing process at the time, in the beginning of year 3, it was very difficult for me. Most don't know, but I do a lot of the filming. Well, I do, I guess you could say, almost all of the filming and all the editing and all the posting and everything. Everything you see SaWGuy podcast is usually probably me, unless, you know, I gave a shout out or something like that. And, you know, it's difficult. You know, when you're a one-man army, you got to, you know, film, edit, post, promote, it's a lot of work, especially with year 3, where I made a lot of promise and said, I wanted to branch out, make it more entertaining. I know when I first started, my thumbnails were really plain Jane. Some of them you can't even see because I don't have them in the right size proportions or whatever. But it sucked because, I know it affected a lot of like the traffic views and everything like that. And so what I decided to do is that I wanted to learn how to make actual thumbnails, how to be more creative on it, how to branch out for you guys, And I believe year 3 was a success for that because of the fact of, I learned how to mess a little bit more with like photoshopping. And I guess you could say more or less with the program that I use for editing software and stuff like that, for editing, videos, editing clips, and it's a really intense thing. I mean, if you look up anything editing, like video editing, if you look up like masking or how to use a blue screen, green screen, if you had to use, if you want to tie in something like this and feather it out and black out the background and stuff like that, it was really intense, and I'm all self-taught. I didn't go for any classes or anything. I'm your typical regular YouTuber. I just go on YouTube. How do you do this on this program, and then you have to kind of learn how to do it, and it's like, oh, okay, and then kind of play with it, and then you get the feel for it, and then obviously you see what it is today with it, But with that being said, I had a lot of episodes in mind that I wanted to do for year 3. Kind of disappointed I couldn't do as much as I wanted to. And that goes back, of course, with everything going on with the pandemic and stuff, and it slowed down. But what I decided to do, of course, I wanted to do another horror unboxing for you guys. Most of you guys really enjoyed the first horror unboxing. A lot of the feedback I got was, it was too long. There were some other things, and I appreciate the brutal honesty. I really do, because honesty is the best policy when it comes to me. But the thing that I got was, hey, you did a horror unboxing, but you didn't really unbox your figures. You left them still in the boxes. And I said that in the video too, like, hey, I'm going to show you guys what I got, but I'm not going to unbox them because a lot of my collections, if I'm able to, I'll get 2 of them. One that I unbox and keep open, one that I keep still sealed and display it on my wall or something. But, with this one, I wanted to branch out and have some fun with it. And I decided to have a theme going with the horror unboxing, and I decided to do Alien. And the reason being is because, where I was shopping at Walmart, they had a bunch of Alien figures, and I just kind of like nerded out, like, holy shit, they have Alien stuff, and it was a lot of stuff that I remembered as a kid that you can't find anywhere no more, and it's hard to find Alien stuff, let alone, and it's hard to find Alien stuff, let alone out there. So anyways, I decided, okay, if I'm going to do an Alien horror unboxing, it's got to be Alien themed. And with that being said, I wanted to kind of tie in like my science background. So I tied in my science background because I went to school for clinical laboratory science. So that means I know how to do like all the lab testing and everything in the background and stuff like that. Blood work, hematology, chemistry, microbiology. And so I wanted to kind of tie into that. It was kind of a fluke how everything had tied in with the pandemic. I got a lot of flack for it because of the fact of like how I dressed up in the, the lab coat, and then I had the mask on and the glasses, but it was a play on like a scientific experiment because, obviously I went to school to become a medical scientist. So that was the kind of wink with it. But I also wanted to do Alien theme because back in year 1, I did an episode on Predator. And I love that episode. The only problem was that I had to go back and do that episode like 9 or 10 times because every time I kept editing it, I would post it, and then all of a sudden, it'd get blocked, banned, or whatever because I had like a second too long of footage or something. So back to the drawing board, you cut that second out, you have to wait till it renders, you upload it, and then all of a sudden, nope, it's still not good. You got to take out this scene, take out that scene, can't use this picture, can't use that picture. And it had to do a lot with like Fox's content, and I get it, as a content creator myself, I get it. So that's why I was like, shit, and it was kind of a nightmare for me, to do the Predator episodes. I had to do it 10 times. I mean, shit, I could have got 10 more episodes out of that. But with that being said, I said, okay, to do an Alien episode is going to be just as difficult. So in the meantime, I'll give you something Alien related, but I'm going to tie it into this horror unboxing, which is what I did. And, it was fun with it, because of the fact that I wanted to do all sci-fi horror twist. And I figured, okay, I'm going to throw in a Rick and Morty kind of reference in there and use the portal gun. And the hardest thing to do of that whole editing process was to try and get that portal gun to shoot and make like the actual like green portal, and then you had to plug in the sound effects. And it was difficult for me because here it is, it's green, I'm on a green screen, and my gloves are green, so I mean you can see through my gloves and my hands when I'm carrying things, so I'm just like, ah, shit. But I mean, you know, you live and learn, and that's how you actually adapt, you know. And eventually I learned, like, ah, shit, I should have gotten the blue screen to do that. But it was fun, it really was. And as I do with my horror unboxings, I like to tie in kind of like giveaways with it, you know. And what I did is that I went fucking ape shit when I saw all this alien stuff. I bought everything that I could. And I had so much. And I told myself, I'm like, shit, I don't want to have like 5 of the same things. So what I decided to do, I did a alien unboxing giveaway. And I called it, you know, the Ultimate Alien Giveaway. And I had some fun with it. And the cool thing about doing giveaways is the fact of, you know, I'm very chill with it. You know, the only thing I always tell everybody is, hey, subscribe to SaWGuy Podcast, comment on any of my episodes, videos, anything that you like, and you're entered in. And the way that I do it is that I write their name on a paper and put it in a box, and then I do, you know, the live drawing for it. And with this one, it was actually pretty cool because of the fact of, you know, I met so many cool people doing this giveaway. One of my good friends that I actually met was Marce Moth. And what's cool about Marce is the fact that she has her own YouTube channel and everything, and I'll leave a link in the description below for you guys so you can check her out. But she does a lot of horror unboxing stuff, everything from Living Dead dolls to Godzilla, aliens, I mean a lot of cool stuff. And you know, I'm a huge fan of her work, and she was starting out with YouTube, and I think she had a couple videos, and we started talking, and I was like, holy shit, you know, another horror fan that I could talk to. That's just how we are in the horror community. Pretty cool. It's like, you like horror, I like horror, shit, we're best friends now. I'm a huge fan of her YouTube channel and everything like that, all of her horror unboxings. And anytime I get a chance, I always definitely check out her stuff, you know. So check out Marce Moth if you like all that horror unboxing stuff and everything like that, because she's got a lot of good content on that too. But like I said, with that being said, I met a bunch of other cool people out there, you know, that was, you know, trying to get into the whole giveaway drawing. I met good friends of mine, Casey and Slink from Slinky's Liquor, Pawn, and Video. And there were some really cool people, you know. It's always a fun time whenever we get together, man, and talk shit. And the way it came about is because, you know, the whole horror unboxing, you know, he put in an entry and everything like that, and then me and Casey, we started talking, and Casey was really cool. He's like, hey, you want to come on the show? And at first, you know, I'm just like, well, you know, because I normally don't do guest spots and stuff like that, but I figured, okay, well, I'm going to branch out and have some fun. And so I guest starred on their show, and they did an exclusive interview with me, and it was fun. We had great times. I mean, just talking shit about everything from horror films to Saw, you know, because the first episode was Saw, who I became as a SaWGuy and all that stuff. And then they came back and said, you know, hey, we're going to do an episode on Scream 2. You want to be in? Hell yeah, I want to be in. But then afterwards, you know, they started doing horror commentaries. And I thought this is really cool. What a horror commentary is, you watch, you know, the horror films and everything, you go to their YouTube video, and, you know, you set it right when they start the film, and then you can hear them commentate as you watch the film. And, you know, we've done a few of them already. We did Friday the 13th remake. We did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. We also did the more recent one, you know, Christmas Horror Story because of the holidays. And it was great times. So if you like horror content, you know, horror podcasts and everything, go check out Slinky's Liquor, Pawn, and Video. They're easy to find. You know, it's just, you type in Slinky's Liquor, Pawn, and Video. It was hard for me to, like, that's a long name, but it's kind of funny. It's a play on, like, the old school, like, video stores and stuff like that back in the day, you know. And they have a lot of great content out there. I'm a huge fan of their show, watch everything that they do. Some of their segments they call the shit show, where they watch some of the craziest, most obscure horror films you could imagine. And it's funny, you know, it really is, because, you know, they watch these films, and KC or Slick, you know, they'll give their opinion on them, and they're like, what the hell is this film about? So if you love great horror content, go check out Slinky's Liquor, Pawn, and Video. Great friends of mine, you know, and it's cool because I got to meet them through this Ultimate Alien giveaway that I was doing. And that was what's cool about year 3. It was the year that I kind of branched out a little bit more to y'all. And it made it a lot more fun. It really did. Going down the line, y'all know that one of my favorite segments that I was going to bring back for year 3, and of course in year 4 for sure, is my mask making videos that are time-lapse. I got a lot of feedback on that, and everybody really enjoys them. They love them, and it's always fun to do. It really is. You know, when I plan to do a certain episode, I always tell myself, okay, am I going to use this mask that I'm wearing, the Ouija Billy, or is it something that I have to get a little bit more in depth with? And in year 3, I wanted to get a lot more in depth. I wanted it to not just be all about Ouija Billy, my main mask, and everything like that. I wanted to branch out on different characters. And the reason why I wanted to branch out on different characters is because I wanted to try something new and try to do something where I could branch out my skills to doing something different. That's what it really boiled down to. So, my first one I did in year 3 was, of course, the Dios de los SaWGuy mask. And that came about because, the year before, I had bought this Day of the Dead mask. And it looked really cool. The only thing is, it had a hooded cape and everything. And it looked like something from the houses that October built. And I said to myself, looking at this mask, like, holy shit, I could fix this up, make it look pretty badass, and put like a SaWGuy touch to it. So when I bought the mask, I started it. I started using a wood burning tool and everything like that. The main issue I had with that mask was that there was a 6-month gap in between. And the reason being is because I get started into it and I get pulled away on wanting to do like different episodes, branch out and stuff like that. And, going back to it is always hard and tough because, I have to be 100% mindset. I mean, for me, it's one of those things that if I'm not 100% mindset, I feel like I'm half-assing my quality, and that's not me. Everything that I do, I always give 110%, even more if I try to. And it's just with that mask, there was like a full 6 months in the creation of that because I get halfway done and I'm like, I don't like this. I'm going to think about maybe doing this. And it's just that's what happened with it. But what came about to wanting to do that mask was later on down the road, I planned to do a mask that talked about a horror film that takes place in Mexico. I wanted to do something kind of like that, kind of tie in because it's a wink to, where I live here in Fresno. It's huge in the Latino culture and everything like that. And me living in Fresno my whole life, I mean, I've learned to appreciate a lot of it. I mean, everything from it. So it was kind of like a cool little wink that I wanted to do in that. And so when I decided to finish up the mask, I said, oh shit, I want to, design it this way, do it that way. And the reason behind the wood burning tool is so that way it adds depth. It adds like different characters on the face and everything, even with the paint covering it. So what I did is that I designed it all up and I said, okay, I want to put these swirls in. Of course, it's got to have the Ouija because it's a dead version of SaWGuy. Then I, plucked out the eyes and opened up the mouth. If you ever seen that video, I mean, it was a really intense video because, using a wood burning tool, that shit was hot. So, trying to build it and everything, that was kind of the most difficult part. And then the painting, of course, you had to put in the base white and do all this. It ended up being a fun mask for me to create. And then I wanted to kind of do something different because at the end of it, I got a lot of feedback. Everyone's always asking me, well, you paint these videos and then you just end it. Like, you should show what you look like in the mask. Like, what are you going to present? And that's when the idea kicked in. And I said, oh, shit, okay, so I'm going to add some more depth to this mask. That's when I decided on the name Dios de los SaWGuy, which translates to Day of the SaWGuy. And I was going to do him, kind of like, not a mariachi singer, but I wanted to do it more of like a bullfighter, wearing the Day of the Dead, like tuxedo shirt and everything like that. The guitar idea is kind of funny. I wasn't going to do the guitar, but what played out into it because my favorite song, El Mariachi Loco, yeah, it's funny because I heard of that song because I go to the casino a lot, and they have this game called, El Dinero Loco, and they always play that song as like the main background. And I always told myself, like, man, if I ever find out that song, I'm gonna use it for the show one day. And sure enough, I found out it was El Mariachi Loco, and I said, oh shit. So I that's where that whole aspect came in. And to tie in that song, of course, I had to have the guitar because it kind of fit that mariachi theme with it. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'll tie it in and everything. And then, of course, later on, y'all know that I ended up using that episode for the Tremors 2 episode. And with that being said, the Tremors 2 episode, it was really obscure because everyone's asking me, why would you do Tremors 2? Well, it's a callback down to episode 7. It was the first episode I did on Tremors, and I did the whole Tremors franchise. And my belief is, doing a 30-minute episode on, all the Tremor films at that time, 1 through 5, and then there was a talk about 6 at the time. It wasn't enough time. It really wasn't, because 2 was great on its own. And I said, okay, the light bulb started to go on for me, and I said, okay, well, the fact that I'm doing the mariachi character of Dios de los SaWGuy, the fact that the horror movie takes place in Mexico, and it's just like, oh shit, I gotta definitely do this. So the trailer announcement that I did is that I wanted to play off as, me being regular and, seeing the SaWGuy mask and watching YouTube videos and stuff of, Hickok 45, trying to play off the character as Bert. And that's when, Earl calls me up and says, hey, we got a graboid situation. Then I get up and I'm just like, oh, shit! And then that's when you see me from behind where I unmask. And then I said, okay, I need to bring out the big guns for this. And then that's where I introduced Dios de los SaWGuy to y'all. And that was one of my favorite characters that I did over the year. because the makeup was so minimal. You know, I just had to put on the black eye makeup and kind of space around the neck and all that stuff like that. But it was very fun. It really was. Now, before I did the Trimmers episode, I wanted to do an episode that really kind of touched me a little bit, you know? I mean that in the sense because, you know, seeing that film, it just reminded me of everything that I went through in life before a SaWGuy podcast. And I'm talking about Secret Window. Secret Window was one of those films that it's obscure because Johnny Depp's in it. It's a horror thriller film, but not a lot of people remember it. I guess you could say it's classified as a novella in a way, but it really didn't have novella traits in the actual film. The book did, but not the film. And when you watch the film with Johnny Depp, it's just, to me, you know, I see a lot of myself of what I went through with that. And after doing the Joker episode kind of took a toll on me mentally a little bit because of the fact of, you know, it was just, we had to really get in that mindset to actually make that character pop. And after I did the Joker episode, I said to myself, okay, while I'm still filmed this way, I want to get in and touch into some of my deeper roots, you know? So that's when I decided I was going to do Secret Window. And it gave me an outlet to bring back the demon character. And the demon character was always a fan favorite. Everybody enjoyed it in year 2 and year 1. The only difference that I did is that I plucked out the blackout eyes, so that way you can actually see my real eyes. And my real eyes are actually yellow. So it kind of gives that little creep factor to it. But with that being said, the whole movie is about Johnny Depp dealing with, you know, his own personal demons, and they get the best of him, which is where the demon character plays out. So when I did the trailer announcement, I decided, okay, I wanted to get more in depth into this. Of course, the demon character, he's going to be the main star of the whole episode and everything like that. And that's why I decided that I would go for the first time ever on Mask. And it was kind of a trip. It really was, because, you know, I'm not a fan of really being on Mask too often. And it only makes sense if it ties into something that I'm doing. That's my belief with it. So, you know, the first few seconds you see me unmasked and you see, like, me wearing the beanie, of course, with the saw. So it's a wink, so it's like saying, hey, he's unmasked! And that's where it plays off the beginning of Secret Window. And the fact of how, instead of it saying, like, hey, you stole my story, it's like, hey, you stole my mask. And it plays off that whole aspect of me dealing with my own demons, like the SaWGuy twist with it. And then that's when I start talking to myself, I put on the mask, and it's completely different. That was actually, I call that the year 2 Ouija Billy mask. That was a mask that I built, and I was going to use it and change up different masks each year, but then I decided against it, so it kind of got shelved. So I brought that mask back out just because it's very similar to this one. And when I filmed with it, I kind of made it look like he was putting on Shooter's hat, just like, yeah, you know. And then it shows like the cracks in his mental state of mind, where, you know, he starts talking to himself, and he's like, look, I don't even have the mask on. And then he realizes that it's this mask that I'm wearing. And he starts talking to himself, and the big reveal of it was that the demon comes down the stairs and tells him, like, hey, you made it all up in your mind. And doing that scene was really fun, because I did that actually in 2 different scenes. Like, you know, one I filmed as the demon coming down and I acted it all out, and the other one was, you know, the day I was filming everything, I said, shit, I want to do the big reveal, but how am I going to do it? And the light bulb came on, and I said, shit, I'll do it on the green screen. So I did it on the green screen. So if you see, you know, the 2 of me, it's because, like, movie editing magic, you know? And that's when I was just, like, trying to film my reaction, just, like, all shocked and everything. But then, of course, you know, that's when I snapped into being SaWGuy, where I take off my glasses and throw them. I really threw my glasses, by the way. You know, it's funny because they're still hanging up. I had to change a couple screws after that, but, you know, it really pushed that effect for it. And, of course, I put on the mask and I become SaWGuy. And then the episode itself was really fun because, you know, filming it as the demon, I didn't want to dress up as, you know, as normal SaWGuy and everything, wearing just the demon mask. I wanted to dress up exactly like how I was in the trailer. And the way I did that, I had to use one of my dad's old shirts. I had a blazer jacket that he kind of wore in it, you know, my regular jeans, and of course my boots had to stick out a little bit. And it was pretty cool. It was fun how to do that episode. If you've seen the behind the scenes on it, you see that was the first time that you actually got to see me unmasked, how I filmed, like, behind the scenes of all the footage that I didn't use, some I used. And I'll put it in there too, like, you know, this scene I used, this scene I didn't. And then you also see how I built up the whole demon character. Everything from the makeup, and then I put on the mask, tighten it, and then you see how it builds me up as the demon. And that was a really fun episode because it was something different. I know I've had a few of my viewers, actually a lot of my viewers, have asked if I do, like, episodes on Mask, which, you know, I thought about it, but maybe. We'll see. We'll see in year 4. Of course, I wanted to still do different segments, and one of them was I got involved in a giveaway. And it was pretty cool because, you know, I thought, okay, I'll throw in my name in a hat. I never win any giveaway shit. I mean, I always win at the casino on the slot machines, but, you know, never on giveaways and stuff. And it was funny because I put it in there, and then all of a sudden when she ended it, she's like, hey, you're the winner. And I go, oh, shit, I actually won? What? And the prize was a waxwork record. And it was pretty cool because, you know, I thought to myself, shit, I collect so much stuff and I don't have any waxwork records at all. And because of that, you know, I got to know Gabby a little bit more. She's really cool. So if you're a huge fan of horror content on YouTube, you can go check out Gabby Hernandez, her YouTube channel. She's got Instagram, Twitter, she's all over the place. She's really cool, down to earth, sweet. I won her giveaway. And it was pretty cool because she sent it to me and I had asked her, I said, hey, you know, I know that I won the giveaway and everything. Would you be cool if I do like a horror unboxing and see if it was cool with you? And she said, yeah, of course. So that's when I said, oh shit, you know. And I wanted to do a horror unboxing for this because I've never seen a waxwork record in person. Like, I really haven't. I know. Kind of behind on the times here, man. But anyways, when she sent it out, it came in the case and everything. And that's when I said, oh shit, I got to record my reaction and everything. I took it out and opened it all up and everything, unsealed it. The record looked badass. It was from the Prowler, and it was a 2-record set. And that's my first one that I ever collected, and to me it was special because it's like, oh shit, I actually won something, you know, and it's a badass waxwork records. And after that, after I did that whole horror unboxing, what I decided to do is that I went out and bought a record player. So now I actually listen to it, so it's pretty cool. So Gabby, if you're listening into it, you know, thank you again for that. And some of the other stuff that I wanted to do, of course, you know, the horror unboxings and stuff like that. I figured, okay, I'll do like a 5-10 minute, you know, horror unboxing on this, you know, cool thing that I found. Out of the blue, I went to Target one day, and I said, okay, I'm gonna look and see what they got in the horror figure section, right? I found this, you know, NECA bag of, like, it said on there that it was horror and sci-fi, like, mystery bag for $10, and it was valued at $25. So I said, oh shit, I'm gonna, you know, buy this and check this out. And I really didn't know what was in it. And in that video, that was me actually opening it up and seeing everything. For the most part, it had like the Leatherface plush, but everything else was all like sci-fi horror. And it was pretty cool. You know, you get the name badge from the Fifth Element, some Lost in Space stuff. It was pretty cool. And, you know, I still have that Leatherface. It's actually hanging off of my Challenger right now, so pretty cool. But that was the reason behind it, because when I saw that, I said, oh shit, no one's really done like an unboxing of this. Like, this is something new, like, you know. And it's funny because every time I go to Target now, I don't see those bags anymore. Like, shit, you know, because they were pretty cool. If they still had them like at the stores or anything like that, I'd buy them up when I can. I wanted to do something that I also really liked and really enjoyed and had talked about for a number of times of doing. I did an episode on the movie You're Next. And the way I did it is that I wanted to do it where, of course, it had the SaWGuy twist to it. But when I filmed it, I said, okay, well, I'm going to do the episode. I want to do the masks, but do I do it as SaWGuy mask or do I do it as the actual Your Next character masks? The problem that I ran into is if I wear the same mask and paint them all the same, you're not going to tell the difference between them. So that's when I thought, shit, okay, I'm going to have some fun with this. I'll buy the original Plain Jane ones and do like 3 separate time-lapse videos for you guys and show how I build them. And that's essentially what I did. I bought 3 different masks, you know, the fox, the lamb, and the tiger, and I painted all 3 of them. And after that, that's when at the end of the video you see like how it actually looks and stuff. And it was pretty cool because I didn't think I can actually make them pop better than the originals. And don't get me wrong, I love the original Your Next mask, but the thing is with me, whenever I wear a mask, I love that, you know, that history-telling mask, you know, the mask that has all that wear and tear, has all that, you know, disgusting, like, that yellowness to it from wearing it so much, you know. I wanted to kind of tie into that, like, that grit to it, you know. And so that's essentially what I did. Then I filmed, you know, the trailer announcement for it. And when I filmed the trailer announcement, you know, the idea that I had in mind is that I was going to recreate the whole opening of it, minus the sex scene, of course, because YouTube standards, right? I didn't have anybody at the time that could help me on that, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to use parts of the movie kind of tie in, but then also I'm going to use, you know, part of me tied into it. And the way that I filmed it is, of course, you see you see the intro, the beginning and everything. And the way that I wanted to play it off is that I use, you know, the 5 sentence In the Still of the Night. I know it's a love song, but if you hear that song, and I guess you could say like in a horror movie, it sounds very creepy. So that's why I went with the 5 sentence, you know, In the Still of the Night. And then made it look like she changed a disc and she was going to put on Dwight Twilight's Looking for the Magic. And when that happened, then you see me like come out of the shower and everything like, ah. And of course, again, I was unmasked. I didn't want to be masked for this because of the fact of then it wouldn't tie into anything. You know, I wanted it to be the return of Ouija Billy. And it was the return of Ouija Billy because, you know, out of all my episodes I had done in year 3 at that time, I haven't done an episode just in my regular plain mask. So that way it was going to be like a return of Ouija Billy coming back to the fold. And of course, you know, that's when I came down the stairs and then I, you know, take a sip of the drink and all that. And I'm like, ugh, look out the window. And I actually painted You're Next on my patio window, put on all the lights and everything, kind of made it look similar to like the movie. And it was fun doing that. The only fun story that I don't think I've ever told was the fact that I was filming that at like 3, 4 in the morning. And with that being said, I live in a complex, right? And when I was doing all the streamings, when I turned around, no, and then you see the blood splatter on the window and stuff. Somebody in the neighborhood actually called the cops on me because they thought something was going on. And while filming that, I get into character. So I'm wearing nothing but this freaking towel because that's what the guy wore in the movie. I hear a pounding on my door. I go to my door. I open it up. It's the cops, and they're ready to draw their guns out at me because they see that I'm covered in blood and shit from, you know, spraying it on the window. And I'm like, no, it's for a YouTube channel. Trust me. And they checked everything out. Everything was good, but I thought it was kind of fucking funny about that because, you know, I filmed it at 3, 4 in the morning. And I tend to throw my voice out because y'all know that I have a hearing problem. I can't hear, so sometimes I talk a little bit louder than I should. Not by choice, of course. But that was kind of funny how that came about to it. And a lot of the props that I used and that you see in there, they were all real props. So the machete, you see behind the scenes, you see me walk in on the green screen and everything like that. That was a real machete. You'll see the axe that I used on there. That was a real axe. That was the axe I used actually for the Shining episode. So it was a wink to that. And, you know, everything that I try to do little winks here and there for the viewers and everything and the fans that actually enjoy my content, you know, just so that way they could see things like, oh, hey, that's a callback to this, that's a callback to that. I put it in there subliminally just to have fun with it. I really do, you know. And they were real props. A couple of times, but they were real props, you know. It's just what I did is that I got them, weathered them down and everything. I know there was some badass pictures that I took where I was as a tiger mask and I had the, you know, the axe coming down like it's actually cutting. That's actually a real picture. I didn't like Photoshop anything on there. I got a lot of cool comments who were like, oh, that's badass. Did you Photoshop that? I'm like, no, I actually took it like that. Just took the picture right in front of the green screen, like doing that, you know, and it was cool because doing that episode, I got to learn a lot of different tactics like that, you know, how to build up my repertoire, I guess you could say, of editing and things. And it was really fun to do that. As far as the episode goes, I did a lot of the filming for it over there at my parents' house because, you know, they live kind of like in the Leave It to Beaver neighborhood. So at night, it kind of looks creepy because they only had a couple of these lights on. And that's where you see me like looking out the window. You see me in the garage. If you see behind the scenes when I'm filming in the garage, I'm like, okay, I want to do, you know, where I'm here, and then I move back and forth like I'm teleporting. There was like a table or something, I bumped into it, and I was like, ah, shit. You know, and the time of filming that, it was in the middle of July in Fresno. And if you guys have never been to California in the middle of July, it is fucking hot. I want to say that day was like 117 degrees. I'm in this hot ass garage and, you know, I'm wearing pants, you know, the whole tactical gear and everything zipped up, all that shit. And I'm sweating like crazy. And I'm like, okay, I just got to film this. It's only a couple minutes. Do it. But I mean, it was fun. It taught me a lot about it. And it taught me about the fact of like, okay, well, maybe I should have different openings for my mask so that way I could breathe a little bit better. Maybe wear a little bit lighter clothing. Something that kind of looks like it, but, you know, do this effect so that way it covers it and blackens it out. You know, it was a great experience for it. It really was. And later on, towards the end of year 3, I wanted to do a little bit more comedic route. I tried to build my content for everybody to enjoy. Not just for the hardcore, you know, horror fans like us. But I mean, for, you know, an outsider that's curious about a movie and they want to check it out. The only thing is, though, is just if you do a lot of intense horror films, it just, you know, you lose that outside viewership, I think. And for me, it's just, I want to be able to try to not broaden my approach, but just make it so everybody can enjoy. And with that being said, I decided, okay, for Halloween coming up, I always do a Halloween special. So, you know, for year 3, obviously I did Beetlejuice. Year 2, I did House of a Thousand Corpses. Year 1, of course, I had to do it on Saw. But with the Beetlejuice episode, I took a lot of time into it. It took about almost 2 months into it, and the reason why it took 2 months it was because it was me trying to order a lot of the stuff that you see in the film, you know, everything from the handbook for the recently deceased, all the various different props. And when it came down to it, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this episode. And what was cool about it, a good friend of mine, she reached out to me because I had posted something on my personal page and said, hey, you know, wait till you see what I got in store. And it was a picture of Beetlejuice like leaning on the gravestone. She reached out to me and said, are you doing an episode on Beetlejuice? I said, yep. Oh shit, I want to be a part of it. And I was just like, really? Like, you really want to be a part of this episode? And, you know, she was like, 100%, I'm down. You let me know when you're ready to film, what you want to do, and we'll work it out. And it was pretty cool, you know, because she had reached out. And it was cool to me because, you know, she was always one of my best supporters out there. You know, always been there for me since day one. And she was the one that kind of gave me the format of how I should do SaWGuy podcast. You know, like, hey, how long should I do it? Should I do 45 minutes? You know, and of course, eventually now I'm up there in 45 minutes. But, you know, she used to joke with me and say, hell no, you got to do it at 30 minutes. I'm too busy for that shit. But, you know, she was always one of my best supporters. And, of course, I wanted to definitely bring her on this. And she's a huge Beetlejuice fan as well, and Tim Burton fan. So I figured, okay, if we're going to do it, this is the way how I plan to do it. And I wanted to do it, and I told her all my plans. And the plans was, you know, to have this episode done, ready to go on Halloween night. The way I wanted to do the trailer, I wanted to do almost, I guess you could say the whole movie, but in a trailer. So it explains everything, you know, and it's visually telling a story. So if you watch it without sound, you can actually kind of, you know, see that it's a happy couple, they die, this is their life now, this other outsider comes in, shit goes haywire, you know, and that's just the way I wanted to put it together. And if you see the behind the scenes stuff, it was my most footage I've ever shot on anything, because the behind the scenes footage was everything that you see. And it was about like almost an hour and 20 minutes, you know. And we shot everything from, you know, me playing Adam, she was playing Barbara, and we filmed like the car driving scenes and all that good fun stuff. And then when it came down to doing the Beetlejuice scenes, we filmed it actually like in 3 or 4 days, almost 5 days actually for me. But her scenes were about 3 to 4 days, because we filmed everything as Adam and Barbara in the car scenes. Then we filmed like on the green screen. Then we had to film her as Lydia. And then later on, once I got the design down of what I wanted to do for the Juice Demon book, I put together the mask and everything, got it all painted up and all that good stuff. And then I grew out my hair, which is a funny story because everyone kept asking me, man, you're growing out your hair. Like, hey, you got that Bob Ross look going, you know, how come it's all curly now? During the time when I was filming the episode for Your Next, my hair was starting to grow really long, and I got a perm on it. The perm didn't sit well, so I put like a Jared Curl kit and then another perm, so I actually did it like 3 or 4 times to make it fluff out. And I wanted it to fluff out because by the time it faded off, it would look very much like Beetlejuice once you put it all together with the hairspray and all that stuff. And that was the reason why it took me so long to freaking grow out my hair, and a lot of the time that it cut into filming, because I wanted to do it all natural. So once I got the mask built up, I decided to do the makeup. I put the hair up and all crazy and everything like that. We filmed the ending scene of like the wedding scenes and stuff like that with the red suit and the dress. And the suit was actually my Joker suit. You know, the only thing is I had gained a lot of weight purposely for that episode, so that way like my gut sticks out and things like that. And you know, I had that Beetlejuice kind of look, but I didn't want to call it Beetlejuice because it's the SaWGuy version. It's the Juice Demon. You know, and the thing that was fun about it is just, you know, the way, if you see all the behind the scenes stuff, my directive approach is kind of funny, odd, different. You know, we're filming some of the scenes where I'm like, okay, this is the scene where we're running out from the gravestone and stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna get up, you go this way, you go that way. And it was funny because of the fact that she was laughing about it, and you know, she told me all the time that, hey, I'm no actress, but you know, she knocked it out of the park, and it was a great episode for that, you know. And putting together the trailer, it was fun to put it together. The only problem was that was my longest trailer that I've ever done, because it ended up being like 7 to 10 minutes around that time frame. And I put it all together because I had all this footage, like I said. I have all this footage, and I used about that much of it. But what I did later on is that I ended up still using the footage for promos. And y'all saw that when I did like the Beetlejuice commercial where I'm dressed up as a cowboy, and I'm like, yahoo, you know, on the TV scene and everything like that. And it was fun. It really was. That was one of my favorite episodes out of all of SaWGuy podcasts, just because of the fact of, you know, it took a lot of time. There was a lot of care into it. You have 2 crazy horror fans that love Beetlejuice coming together and actually building a project like this to make it entertaining and fun. When it came down to it on the episode, it was very rough putting it all together towards the end for the episode. The reason why I say that is because I work retail, and where I work at retail, it's kind of like, I guess you could say, a year-round party store and stuff like that. And Halloween is like our Christmas season. So during that time, I'm working, between 10 to 12-hour days. And I would get off of those long days, come home, try to edit what I can. And then I would get like maybe 2 hours of sleep, get back up, do the whole same thing again, And coming together that last week of Halloween, I had just finished the trailer, popped out the trailer, and I said, shit, don't have enough time to promote it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to promote the trailer. Just keep promoting clips of it. And then when that time came, I filmed for the episode. I filmed another segment for y'all. And after that, I said, okay, now I have like 3 days to get this episode, like, edited, done, posted, and out there. And I didn't think I was going to make it. I got it done, I got it uploaded, and got it ready to go by Halloween night, which is cool. The only thing I was disappointed on is that I didn't get the audio-only version out, like, the same day. I got the audio-only version out, like, the next day, and it was fun with that, as I always have done since the beginning, and I'm still going to keep doing it into year 4. I've always released 2 versions of every episode. So one is like the video-only version that you guys can enjoy, have fun, watch. The other one is the audio-only. So if you're taking like a long car trip, you're at the gym working out, whatever, and you just want to listen to it, I have just the audio-only version for it. I was only disappointed because I was like, damn, what I tried to do is have both episodes up available at all times. That was the only time that I was able to drop that episode, get it released, and then the next day is when the audio-only version came out. And, it was still a success. It really was. It was one of my favorite episodes. And I loved how I tied in the audio-only version with every video episode, just because it makes it more fun and entertaining because, everybody has different lifestyles. That's my motto with it, When I listen to podcasts, if I don't have, like, the channel or anything, or if I don't listen to the audio-only version, I'll listen to it on YouTube. And it's funny because I'll play it on YouTube and listen to it in the car, if I'm driving or whatever. And it's just a fun experience for me. It works for my lifestyle. And I know there's probably a few people out there like that. So that's why I still do the audio only and the video version, like both released together. But during that time also, I filmed not only just the Beetlejuice episode, but I also filmed another taste test video. The taste test videos, a lot of you guys really enjoyed, like the first one that I did with the Mountain Dew Voodoo. And I figured, oh shit, they made a Mountain Dew Voodoo too, so part 2 is gonna have to come out on this. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna do it, but I don't want to do it as just regular SaWGuy. I want to do it, tied in with that Halloween theme with it. And since I was already in the makeup and everything, and I had all the candy and all the Mountain Dew and everything that I needed, I said, shit, I'll film it right after I film the episode. So I filmed it right after I filmed the episode. It was kind of funny because, that's my real reaction. I had brand new candy bags. I heard all the hype on everything. You see all the Facebook posts like, hey, Kit Kat is making this flavor for Halloween only. Try it out. And I decided, okay, I'm going to try all this out. And I tried it all out, and not all the candy I liked. I mean, the Skittles was okay until you got that sour, nasty-ass tasting zombie flavor one. And then when I got to the Kit Kats and you tried the marshmallow one, the Witch's Brew, ugh. I still haven't been able to wash that shit out of my mouth. It was just so nasty, But the Mountain Dew flavor of Voodoo... But the Mountain Dew Voodoo 2 was really good tasting. I was really surprised. I was like, damn, okay. Like, they added definitely that Starburst, Skittles kind of taste to it. For me, I don't really eat too much candy often, And it's kind of funny because I'll have like a piece here, a piece there. I was a sucker for sure, the pumpkin pie ones. I ate all that shit up. It's funny because I had trick-or-treaters the night of Halloween, and it was funny because I would put it in a bowl, and everybody would pick out the Witch's Brew because it was cool, and the way the package was designed. But I know, thinking about it now, like, all these kids probably tasted it and like, ugh, marshmallow. I can't do any of that shit. That's why I was like, I'll finish it for you guys. So, I normally don't eat candy too much, but it was Halloween. It's something tied in with horror, and it was something that I wanted to create to make more fun for you guys. More content, you know what I mean? And closing out year 3, what I decided to do is that I still wanted to have that comedic route of Beetlejuice that you all got to see, because I'm not a fan of horror comedies, but, if you guys enjoy, like, the comedic routes and stuff like that, for sure I'm definitely going to put it in. And with the great reception I got on the Beetlejuice episode, everything from the behind the scenes to the actual episode, even the audio only version did really well. I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do something different for Christmas. And for Christmas, I try to do like different Christmas specials, We all know how it is at the holidays, like, you got to go visit family, do this, do that. For the longest time, I've always wanted to do Krampus. And originally I planned to do it last year in year 2, But with that being said, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I want to go big, and I'm going to save it for later when I learn how to, sharpen my skills, so to speak. And that's why I did the Shining episode last year. This year, I said, nope, I'm going to do Krampus. And the way I did it was I bought the Krampus suit, and then, of course, everything that I buy, it's funny. I'm not a little guy. I'm like 5'5", 5'6". I buy these costumes, are one size fits all. This shit is so big on me. I had to go and get it, tailor fitted so that way it actually fitted me. And what I decided to do, I was going to wear the SaWGuy mask, but then I was going to buy, a Santa beard, kind of scruffy it up a little bit, paint it brown. And what I did for the horns is that I actually tried out this new foam clay. And I guess with this clay, it's foam, but it's a clay, and a lot of cosplayers use it. I saw it on Amazon, and I saw great reviews how people were actually making cool shit out of it, like Mortal Kombat costumes and stuff, and, big old chunks of pieces. And I said, shit, I'm going to try this out and see how it works. So I got this clay. I molded it onto like a regular cheap headband and stuff like that, and it came out really good. And I thought to myself, okay, and it worked different from clay. Behind the scenes, I used to do a lot of stuff with clay, because I was in ceramics a lot for high school and college and all that stuff. So I kind of had a little bit knowledge of like how to sculpt. So that's why I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and build this up and kind of make the horns like kind of fucked up a little bit. I was originally planning to do like a broken piece, kind of make it look like more authentic, worn and torn, but I was like, no, I'll just stick with the regular horns. So I built the horns, had to wait, at least a week for it to dry, like harden, like fully harden. After that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna paint it. So then I painted it with the white, the brown, and all these other wear and tears and stuff on it. Originally, I was gonna use that as like a time lapse, but I figured, well, you can't do a time lapse on a headband with horns and stuff, and it wouldn't be as entertaining as it would with a mask, right? So that's why I never filmed the footage for it. But what I decided to do is that I was going to play off the character of Krampus, and Krampus was going to come down and come after you. So by the time I got all the props and everything, I got the armbands, and I put the hair on and the fingernails and stuff. It was actually a pretty badass costume. I was going to film it similar to how it was in the movie Krampus itself, but I also wanted to put a taste of realism into it, where you go and visit family, and it's never the best of times sometimes, because that one family member shows up and all that shit, and we all been there. And so I wanted to play on that realism with it. And so what I decided to do, I was going to, use again. I used my parents' house because they always decorate for Christmas. I never decorate for Christmas or anything like that. So what I did is that I, recorded the Christmas tree, me cutting a pumpkin pie and everything, family arguing and stuff like that. And then the fact that you see that I pull out this ornament and it ends up being the Krampus bell. And I'm like, hey, I've never seen this, and then also what I wanted to do too, since it was the end of the year, I wanted to do something kind of different that I've never done. And that was to bring all the SaWGuy masks together on one screen. And that was kind of difficult at first, but what I decided to do is that it was going to build up the story where, this kid, he likes Christmas, then he ends up hating Christmas like in the movie. And all of a sudden, all this crazy shit starts happening. And when you see all that crazy shit happening, then you see his helpers and stuff help him out too. But, I didn't want to do like the actual helpers from the movie, like the Nutcracker and stuff. I figured, okay, I'm going to wear a bunch of different masks that y'all haven't seen in a long time. And of course, obviously you saw my Grandma Ethel, which is the dark green mask. You saw the zombie. You saw the Return of the Scarecrow. You saw the Heritage mask, actually. That one I actually originally intended to use for an episode, but never did. And I figured I wanted to, give all that spotlight to them. And then, of course, I had to bring back the Laughing Billy mask, which was the Joker one. And I brought that one back because obviously you see a jester in the movie and he eats one of the kids and he's like wiping his mouth and shit. So that was a fun scene to film. Filming all that was really tough because of the fact of, the costume was bulky. It was hard to move around in. And so, I filmed a lot of footage, but I only used very little of it because most of it was just like me trying to fix the horns, me trying to fix the beard. Like something always fucking came up, man. And it was difficult to film as Krampus, but when it came down to it after I filmed all the Krampus scenes, filming as the different characters, that was a different ballgame too. Because I bought different tights. I had like these old worn out like sweatpants and stuff like that. I wanted to give every character like their own distinct look where they all kind of fit in the Krampus universe, but they're all different in their own way, like in the movie. And it came together really well, I thought, but it's just, the thing that sucked is that I caught a nasty cold at that time. And when I caught that cold, it took me out, for another couple weeks, and I was just like, shit. And, this is the Joker episode all over again, man. It really was. Because, by the time I got everything done filming, it was already, like 2 or 3 days before Christmas, and I said to myself, shit, this episode's gonna be late, and I've never been late on an episode. So what I decided to do is that I finished up the trailer, released the trailer on Christmas, wait till I got a little bit better, film the episode, and then drop the episode a couple days after New Year's. And the day that I dropped it on the Epiphany, which is like just January 5th or 6th, depending on what you believe. And I say the Epiphany because, that's when supposedly, like, the wise men came and they saw baby Jesus, and it still had Christmas ties to it. So I was like, okay, well, if I can release it on the 5th or 6th, that would work perfectly. And so that's what I did. And the episode itself came out really good. I mean, I definitely gave it my all on that. Of course, I wasn't as energetic as I normally am because I was still recovering from the cold, but I gave it my very best on it and gave it 110%. A lot of editing that I had to do on that episode, I'll be honest on that. But what was kind of cool about it is that I released that, and I also released the audio-only version of it. And so far, it's been a great episode. A lot of you guys enjoy it. I kind of find it funny, though. For year 3, the only episodes that didn't do too well, video-wise, was the Your Next episode and the Krampus one. But the audio-only versions, they took off. Wow! So I think to myself, shit, I must be doing something right. Right after I did the Krampus episode, of course, a good friend of mine, Robbie from Out of the Blank podcast, he reached out to me and he says, hey, how you been? How's everything going? We caught up, and he was coming up to episode 666. And he asked me, hey, I'm doing this episode. It's episode 666. And before he could ask me to say, hey, do you want to be a part of this? I was already telling him, oh, hell yeah, put me in this episode, man. 666, of course, I had to be on that episode, So it was pretty cool. We worked out a plan, and we did the episode and everything, and it was fun. And the way that we had designed that episode was that we were going to talk about, hey, you're a big fan of Saw, you're wearing the mask before it became cool, if you had to put me in a Saw trap, what Saw trap would you put me in?
If you could put me in a scenario, we're going to make a SaWGuy scenario right now. If you could play a game with me, how would you start it off? Go into it.
I would put you in a dark room, and I take away your number one aspect, which is your charisma to talk. So I would sew up your mouth, right?
That's fucking horrible. That is terrible. Oh my God.
And it was a great fun interview, man. And Robbie, he's a crack up, man. If you really enjoy any type of podcast and all types of podcasts, go check out of the Blank podcast, anywhere you can find your podcasts on Apple iTunes. He's on YouTube, he's on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. I mean, he's got a great content on his show, and I freaking love and enjoy all of his content that he did. But I thought it was kind of funny that we did this episode, because he's like, okay, for 666, we got to do something fun with it, And I was like, okay, what do you have in mind? And he had told me, he goes, what if we discuss, how would you put me in a Saw trap? I was like, oh shit, that'd be a good one right there, So if you've seen the episode, if you haven't seen it, I'll post a link or the description below for you guys to enjoy. It was a fun episode, man. It really was, because he had asked me, well, what type of trap would you put me in? And the trap I was thinking was the trap from Saw 4, where you had 2 guys in the room. One had his eyes sewed shut, and the other guy had his mouth sewn shut. And as I was describing it to him, he was like, that's fucking crazy. But it's pretty cool, because he's into horror films, but not kind of into crazy horror films like how I am, how most of you guys out there are. But it was a fun enjoyment, And thanks for having me again, Robbie, for tuning in. I appreciate that. And now we made it on to year 4. And what I do every year for the SaWGuy podcast, I don't do seasons, I do it in years, right? So obviously there's year 1, year 2, year 3, now we're kicking into year 4. And every year what I do is that I always, redo the whole theme of the SaWGuy podcast, I redo the intro, just so to freshen it up and everything like that. It kind of sucks because year 3 intro was really cool, and I really liked it. There's a lot of depth that I put into that one. The only thing that sucked, though, is that I was limited on my episodes and what I could use it on. And so I'm like, but that's okay. Life happens, But with the year 4 intro, I really did took a lot of time into it, had some fun with it. I always start off with the TV because, it's one of those things, it always reminds me of Poltergeist and the character of SaWGuy himself. He's very unique. This whole episode I've been talking as the man behind the mask. And, a lot of my ideas that come into, what I play out and everything like that, all the inspiration is all from the horror films I've seen over the years, and from the fact that I live the horror life 24/7. You know, and then honestly, I really do appreciate everything that I do, and I can't thank you enough for everyone that supported SaWGuy Podcast. I really do appreciate you guys. Anything from just liking one of my posts on social media, commenting on my YouTube channels, liking my YouTube channel, sharing. I can't thank you guys enough for that. I mean, I really do appreciate it, because at the end of the day, I make my content, and I don't do it to become famous. I don't do my content to get the views, the subscriptions, the this, the that. And I don't even do it for monetization. I mean, I make zero off of everything that I do for SaWGuy Podcast. I do this because this is something fun. This is something enjoyable for me. And I will always be doing this. As long as I keep it fun and entertaining for you guys, and you guys make it fun for me, I'm always going to keep doing this for you guys. And, you know, the good thing about no monetization, I don't have any commercials. So that's another good thing to tune in sometimes, you know. But going into year 4, there's a lot of different things that I had planned and discussed and everything, and my own thoughts of what I was thinking that I wanted to do for an episode. Year 3 was kind of disappointing for me in a couple aspects, I'll be honest, you know, brutally honest with it. There was a couple segments I didn't get a chance to do. And then, of course, I didn't do a Saw film, which kind of really, like, fuck, I didn't do a Saw film. And it would have made sense to do, you know, Saw 3 in year 3. I mean, you know, the connection with it, right? But I never got a chance to do it. I wanted to do it in between the Beetlejuice episode and the Krampus episode, but with the time frame that I had and how I was building up the Krampus suit and then trying to finish up the rest of Beetlejuice, I couldn't fit it in. That's the only thing. But for sure, what I was thinking of year 4, I definitely will include another Saw film, and it's got to be Saw 3, of course, right? Some of the ideas that I've actually really had played in my head and really thought out was, you know, I love doing horror films, but I want to do films that are, I guess you could say, different, but they have horror aspects into it, you know. What I always tell myself is that if I'm going to do a film that isn't horror but ties into the horror aspects, I'm only going to do very few of them, and not too often, like maybe 1 or 2 a year at most, you know, like I did with the Joker episode. But some of the outside ones that I thought about doing an episode on Watchmen. Watchmen was the DC Comics that was really big, you know, a couple years back and everything like that. That was one of my other favorite, you know, DC Comics that they did back in the day. I also thought about possibly doing an episode on John Wick or even the movie Crank. Those are action films, yes, but they do have a lot of horror aspects into it, and they were so badass, you know, and it's just, man, dude, and when I get passionate into like an episode or a project, like I know I can, you know, pick up that fumble and run to the touchdown for it, you know what I mean? But I haven't forgotten about you guys out there that enjoy sci-fi horror movies and stuff like that. I'm gonna be honest, I know I kind of lagged on it. I mean, I gave the Alien Horror unboxing, I did the Predator episode, and I did an episode on the Twilight Zone TV series. So I'm thinking about maybe possibly doing an episode maybe on Total Recall. Now, I know that's more action-based, but there is some sci-fi horror elements into it. So that's kind of an idea I've been kind of tossing around in my head, like, you know, and get the gears moving. I might do that, it just really depends, you know. But these are ideas that I've been thinking about for year 4 for you guys. Anything that you guys like to see in year 4, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always interested to hear what you guys think. I mean, from you guys that enjoy the content and everything, if you guys prefer more horror comedy, horror movies, different movies that have horror elements into it, but not horror, I mean, you all let me know and we'll go from there, you know, because I always love to hear you guys' thoughts of what you think on everything. But a lot of other films that I thought of was obviously Return of the Living Dead. You gotta have that film in there somewhere. And I've only done 1 zombie film, so I'm just like, how the fuck do I have only 1 zombie film? So I gotta definitely try and squeeze that in there sometime in year 4 in the future. Other ones that I've been looking at too was Freddy vs. Jason. Now, Freddy vs. Jason would be a great one, but the only problem is I've done 1 episode on the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and I did an episode on the whole franchise itself. And with Friday the 13th, I did the whole franchise itself, but in 2 different episodes. I may or may not do that in this future, but we shall see. I definitely have thought about doing a Friday the 13th episode for sure. Just because of the fact that, you know, I was born on Friday the 13th, I gotta do something for it. And when you do 1 episode where you talk about 10 films, that's just never enough. I mean, each film deserves its own episode in their own right, is what I believe. Other ones that I thought about was Hellraiser, Pumpkinhead. Some of the more cult favorites is what I wanted to kind of lean towards to this year in year 4. With year 4, I know I kind of went like the comedic route and stuff like that in year 3. Year 4, I want to do a little bit more serious tone. I might branch out every now and then. I might have one obscure film. I even thought about doing like a black and white horror movie special where I talk about the original horror monsters, give them their own episodes. My favorite that I always wanted to do, a black and white one, was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because he was one of the original monsters that still doesn't get enough credit. And of course, with Jekyll and Hyde, kind of fits in the theme with me and SaWGuy. So that's some of the stuff that I've actually been thinking about for you guys. As far as segments go, definitely for sure you'll be seeing more of From the Grave. You'll be seeing more of $5 Horror Finds. I thought of other different segments too for you guys, but more people want me to do like segments on my Hellcat Red Eye. I know that's more car-based and stuff like that, but I might do something with the Challenger that I have, the Hellcat Red Eye, tie it into something horror, maybe do a horror-themed movie, maybe like Christine, maybe, we'll see, because that ties into it pretty well. As far as other different segments, I wanted to do something like a shout-out segment where, I give shout-outs to like other horror podcast channels that I personally enjoy and things like that. And of course, the one that I did not bring in from year 2 as promised. Definitely, I'm going to try and get in some horror survival video games in there for you guys. Maybe some retro video games as well, because I still play a lot of the old school ones. I can't do this new day, modern day stuff. It gets too confusing with me with some things, and it's like, but I'm definitely going to bring in a lot more different segments for you guys, and definitely increase them in more volume for you guys, and have more of them available in between episodes and things like that. Maybe I might even tie them in from episodes. And of course, I can't end this year 3 in review special without doing the Q&A as promised. If you follow me on social media, I have been making a series of posts saying, hey, I'm doing the year 3 in review special. I want to do a Q&A with you guys, the viewers, the fans, everyone that appreciates the content. Nothing's off the table, so any questions you want to ask, you let me know. And believe me, everybody reached out and asked me all kinds of questions. I'm going to try and read out as much as I can for you guys and explain a lot of them in there for you. But I know some people said they don't want their name released, others that said that they wanted to, so I'll read them out to you guys and answer all your questions, because this is a Q&A, and as I said, nothing's off the table. I'm going to start reading off some of these questions, because some of them are actually kind of funny, and some of them are different and unique, but let's start it off, right? So, Sports City Podcast from Instagram, he asked, Freddy or Jason? Well, I would say Jason because I'm born on Friday the 13th. I like Freddy, but I gotta go with Jason, right? He also asked, which Saw is your favorite? Out of the whole franchise, it's a hard tie between 3 and 5, but if I have to pick between those two, it's gonna be Saw 3. Saw 3 for sure was one of my favorites. Next we got Magnificent Maleficent from Instagram. She asked a few series of questions. Favorite non-horror movie? There's a couple of them that I actually like. Obviously Crank, Total Recall. Any old school Arnold Schwarzenegger films I really like. Red Heat was another good one that I really liked. I know it's so obscure and it's not like horror films and stuff. If I have to pick a recent one, I would have to say, honestly, that's really tough. Most of the stuff I watch is all horror, but I do like all the Batman films, so, that counts for something, right? Next question she asks is, a good memory from high school or favorite subject? Not too many memories from high school that I thought were great. I was kind of the oddball kid and stuff like that, and I was kind of kept to myself, but I was cool with everybody. Everybody knew who I was. They knew me as that one horror movie guy, But my favorite subject, I will answer this, was always American history. I liked American history because I had a teacher who just had no bullshit. The school that I went to, it was funny because it was kind of like a preppy school and everything for high school. It was a public school, of course. I had this teacher, his name was Mr. Lawyer, and I loved him to death because he was that type of teacher that had no bullshit. Like, I go in there and I tell him, like, hey, I can't hear, so, I gotta have preferential seating and sit in the front so I can hear you talk. And he's like, you're deaf? And I'm like, yeah. And the whole time, he would kind of mess with me at times and shout and say, hey, did you get that over there? And he would, like, make eye contact with me. But at the end of the day, he knew he could joke with me like that because he would talk to me after class and say, look, I know you're a good kid. I know you're trying to learn and everything like that, but I'm going to help you out. So if you need anything, let me know. I mean everything is a joke. I think you're a good kid. And he was the one that kind of reached out and said, okay, hey, like, you need to get off your ass, apply for school, get educated. And without taking that subject and without that being my favorite subject, I probably would have never gone to school, honestly. But he was the one that really strived and pushed for me to do it. So, I mean, that has to be my favorite subject from it. And tied into, like, my favorite memory from high school, I guess you could say, right? But these are a bunch of series of questions that people have asked me. They didn't want their name exposed or anything like that. They didn't want the shout out, so I get it. I understand privacy and all that stuff. But these are all from different followers from my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, and also from YouTube as well. And messages, comments, everything like that. The first one I got, because everybody knows I'm a wrestling fan, WCW or WWF? I'm going to go with WWF, because WCW, they kind of, I mean, old WCW was great, but newer WWF was better, if that makes sense, right? Here's another one. Favorite mask of SaWGuy? Well, if I had to choose between all of my masks, of course it would be this one. I mean, this is the main one that really started it, right? The hardest episode that you have ever done. If it's not the Joker episode or the Krampus, I think the hardest one that really came to mind to put together for me was the Predator episode, as I explained, because I did that episode and I had to keep re-editing it so many times just to get that episode out, because there was so much like copyright strikes on it, like you can't use this picture, you can't use this, you can't use that. That was the hardest episode I ever did, and that was way back when I first started out in year one. But that was my hardest episode I've ever did. Favorite TV show? Well, if it's not horror-based, I mean, my favorite TV show that I try to watch is anything that's like NFL, like football stuff. I try to watch anything and everything off of like Adult Swim, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, South Park. I like a lot of animation stuff. It's fun, you know? Favorite sports team? Of course, I got to go and represent my Raiders. They used to be the Oakland Raiders. Now they're the Las Vegas Raiders. So, you know, hey, that's cool. I still support them either way. But, you know, if you're going to ask about like other different teams and stuff, of course, it'd be the Raiders. Golden State Warriors. Baseball, it used to be the Oakland A's, and then they got the Raiders kicked out, so I really don't have a favorite baseball team at this time, but yeah, those are my favorite sports teams. How old are you? I get this one actually quite a lot. I'm actually 33. I feel like I'm 43, 53 some days, but I'm actually 33, so there's my age right there for you guys. Favorite drink? Well, with that, I got a lot of favorite drinks out there, but if you're talking about just regular drink, it's got to be Mountain Dew, of course. If you're talking about favorite adult beverage, I'm talking about, you know, Jack and Coke. That's always been my favorite. Those are my favorite drinks. Who is Necro Nightmare? You know, I get this question a lot ever since I did the Beetlejuice episode. Everyone's always asked me, who's Necro Nightmare? Who's Necro Nightmare? Necro Nightmare is someone that I'm really close to. We've known each other for quite some time, about 8-9 years. We met because, you know, we were both big horror movie fans. We talk horror movies and shit. And we talk like, hey, have you seen this movie? No. And then she goes to season, she goes, oh, this is a badass movie. And it just, that's how it started, you know. Necro Nightmare is a good friend of mine. And, you know, she's the one that helped me out in the Beetlejuice episode, of course. I mean, I get asked that question all the time. But that's why I'm kind of laughing at that. But, yeah, she's a good friend of mine. You know, that's who Necro Nightmare is. She's a friend of SaWGuy podcast and SaWGuy. Would you ever do a live unmasking? I did unmasked for the trailers. I know everybody has always asked like, hey, is that really you? And I recently did a picture of me unmasked versus me with the mask, and it kind of looked like a Mortal Kombat fight scene, you know, where it's like, you know, SaWGuy versus this guy, and everyone thinks that I have like a twin brother or something. And it's like, no, I don't have a twin brother, it's just me. But they want me to do a live unmasking, and like I said, nothing's off the table. So I'm going to do a live unmasking for you guys. Don't flip out, don't get scared. I know it's probably going to be the scariest fucking thing you've seen, but here we go. Live unmasking. Yep. Feels different. Feels really different, actually. But yeah, there's your live unmasking for you. You know, answer your question on that. And finally, the last question. If your name is SaWGuy with the mask, what is your name without the mask? I think you're trying to ask, like, what's my real name? I will tell you, my name is always going to be SaWGuy with or without the mask, just because that's who I am. But if you're asking what my real name is actually Reza. Kind of an uncommon name to most, but Reza is a common name in the Middle East culture. And it's funny because a lot of people, they butcher up my name. They'll say, oh, Reza, Raisin, Reese's, Razor. I've heard a number of things over the years of what my name could be, you know, and how they say it out, but it's actually Reza. Reza's my real name. But, you know, like I said, anytime I'm with the mask or without the mask, I'm still always SaWGuy. But thank you all for tuning in for this year 3 in review special. I really do appreciate all the support that you guys do. Everything from the Q&A, from you guys following me on social media, subscribing to YouTube and everything like that. I really do appreciate it, and I can't thank you guys enough. I'm anxious to get started on year 4 so we can, you know, have some more fun and talk about this again next year, right? But thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time, as always.